Alright. What's going on, everybody? It's good to be back streaming. I've been away for a few weeks. The team and I have been busy working on a whole bunch of behind the scenes systems and things with the game, and then a bunch of us were on trips. And I wrote a devlog about all of that if you'd like to learn more about what we've been up to. But myself and Zalavir attended Indiecade in Santa Monica this week. Not sure if anybody here went or has gone, but it's a really cool festival that shows off a bunch of pretty innovative indie games, and there's also sort of a convention or a conference that goes along with it. And so I was lucky enough to speak as part of like a Kickstarter roundtable, because the game before We Are The Caretakers that we worked on called Hero Generations was kickstarted. So it was really cool to get back to that conference and just connect with a bunch of friends and meet some new folks. Last time I was there was 2011, and they've changed the venue a couple of times since I was there. But yeah, it was really cool. There were a couple of games actually before we dive into caretaker stuff that I wanted to show off. My goal today is to kind of go through our prologue level that we've been working on, and a couple other address a couple of things that we got feedback on when I showed the game at Indiecade. But before we do that, I just want to highlight some of the cool festival games that some of you may not have had a chance to learn about. I'm going to pull some up here. How's everybody doing? Oh, this just reminded me that so Zalavir was there less because of We Are The Caretakers, and he was actually running a night game that was pretty funny. It was, I guess it was like a role-playing game about, or that was definitely not about Amazon or the fulfillment services there. It was I don't know, a pretty funny parody. I didn't get a chance to hang around, unfortunately. I had to leave the day that he was running it, but it sounds like it went over pretty well. But I just wanted to highlight a couple of games I checked out, because I don't think a lot of people would see them otherwise. I really like this Jump Grid game. It's like a really simple, the audio so we don't get killed by YouTube. Just a really simple, like, it's almost like a shoot 'em up, but it plays more like a puzzler. I I don't know. It kept me engaged. It's pretty cool. I also really liked, find it here. Well, Dicey Dungeons, obviously, it actually, I think it won the main prize award. Really good roguelike game if you haven't checked that out. But there's this really innovative game, can't seem to find all of a sudden. Patrick's Parabox, or yeah, Patrick's Parabox. Check this out. A video, but basically, it's like a block pushing puzzle game. But when you get next to one of these blocks here that have almost a room in them, you kind of go into that. So it's sort of a recursive fractal puzzle solving game. So you have to go in there, solve the puzzle in there, then come out back out to the next level and sort of push the block into the goal. Really clever, and the designers seem really smart. So you should check that out. There are a couple other just like things that stuck in my brain. There's this game called Horses. I won't really say anything about it because it's sort of like this surrealist thing that just unfolds in a really weird way. Then yeah, I mean, all the games are great, but yeah, those are the ones that stood out. I guess the last one is Zyba Scott's Kind Words. It's really simple, but you just send nice notes to each other, and actually what I found out is that he's hand moderating the messages that are being sent to ensure that they're actually like friendly messages. So I don't know how he's going to keep that up, but pretty a really cool goal, and because he's doing that, it actually creates a really like interesting social dynamic that you can't get in a lot of other games. So yeah, Indiecade, really cool. So yeah, as part of Indiecade, they have a game tasting section, and they let me show off We Are The Caretakers. I got about, it was only for a couple hours at a time, and that's all I really had time for anyways. But I had about 15 people come through and play the latest build. And although we don't have this prologue mission that we're going to work on the stream today we have had a whole bunch of polish put into the game, and a couple of new systems have come online. And I was really pleased to kind of see that where in past demos where we've been a little earlier, there's been some rough edges and bugs that people have hit. Here, I think we've largely removed a lot of that, and people are able to kind of get to the meat of the game. And for the most part, they get it. So that's really good to see, and I think we can put some tutorialization into the game to smooth out any of the remaining kind of points of confusion. The other big thing that has come on since sort of like maybe the last month is John Para's original soundtrack, and you may be able to hear it today a little bit on the stream, but it's really coming along. It's a really cool mix of like traditional orchestral music, but then we've got some hip hop, some sort of EDM influences even. It's just a really cool mix, and I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. And that was one of the things that a lot of people responded to at Indiecade. So really happy with that, and I'm excited for everybody to see it once we finally have the game out in public somewhere. So yeah, today what I want to work on is effectively, from our standpoint, it's a tutorial level, but we want it to feel just like a natural part of the campaign. But we want to create, whereas most of the game is going to be pretty open-ended, and you'll have sort of a selection of objectives to complete, and you're just trying to sort of survive and approach a level how you want. We really want to create something that's a little bit more focused and linear, so that you can hit the major things you need to know in order to even enjoy the more open-ended levels later. This is coming from my experience with Hero Generations, which is also a very open-ended, open world sort of game. And we found that once we put in a very short linear tutorial, it just made the game that much easier to kind of explain itself and for people to actually discover the deeper systems that we have in the game. So Sarah Eskandari on our team has been working hard to kind of get this layout in, and we also have some writing from Zalavir that is sort of rigged up in a basic sense. We just have a simple town here, a mysterious sort of site here that you'll be introduced to that your rangers have found that you need to investigate. And then we're going to introduce you to some of the basic mechanics like movement, converting towns, and tracking a poacher. So we've got the basics of that here. It's also showing off some like new assets like more natural looking trees and things like that. We've got the skeleton here. We've got this Ron site here. So it'll kind of, this will be the first thing that'll kind of lead you through to want to kind of advance. We've got this just basic layout of these barricades here. We'll dress this up with more environmental things, but we wanted to kind of have something that highlights sort of the natural environment, but also that we have this sci-fi tech that's in the environment, such as these barrier walls. I won't actually hit this right now because I don't want to spoil it, and that's part of what I'm going to be working on. But the sort of setup and the end goal of this mission is to convert this town, and then when it happens, you'll find the location of the poacher that is critical to the mission, and then you'll have to track them down from here. Right now, we don't really have that part rigged up, so I'm going to try to work on that. I'm also going to work on making this a little bit more noticeable. As you can see, a lot of things like the towns and points of interest, like this sort of loot or treasure that's out in the environment, have these callouts, which make it easy to spot that they're interactive in the environment. You can see that this does not. It is interactive, but it doesn't have that. So I'm going to add that as well as sort of a general system for these objects to have that, so that we don't have to go in and hand code for every single world object like that. And I'm just going to use this as sort of the this special sort of landmark as my test for that feature. And then if we have time, I'm going to try to get it so that whereas in the normal sort of open-ended missions, poachers will just enter like they are now from the edges or from points where they've been able to break in. I don't want that in this first mission. I just want them to kind of spawn based upon the conversation that's going to happen here, so that we can kind of ensure the player sees that happening. So yeah, I'm going to put the music back on and do that, but shout if you have any other questions. So there's a drumming sound effect. It's kind of distracting. Is it maybe this? I think it's just my mic wiggling. So let me see if I can tighten that up. Yeah, I wish I was a drummer, but I don't think I'm drumming. Cool. Well, I'm gonna put the music back on here and talk through what I'm doing. Yeah, there is a drumming effect if I unmute the audio. You cross a threshold here. Scout kind of just highlights when you scouted the territory. Yeah, we still have some work to do, but I think the game's coming along visually. The UI's in. We've kind of, again, like I was saying, shaved off some of the rough edges that had been in past builds. All right, and apologize if I'm going slow today. I'm still a little jet lagged from the trip, but I think we can make some stuff happen. Still making that noise, eh? Yeah, I think it's just unfortunately my desk shaking. Yeah, actually, it looks like my mic's like screws are loose on it. That's weird. Um, Sorry about that. I think what I'll do then is I'll just while I'm working, I'll mute the mic for a little bit and then just pop it back on. Anybody chats. So what we're gonna have to do is get a couple of pieces that we have already kind of hard coded into some of these objects in the world and kind of put them at the base class, which is a map entity. We need to do the hover callout, which is like the actual icon we saw on the map, as well as a mini map icon, which is obviously an object that gets noticed by the mini map and can represent it on the mini map. So I'm going to try to put that into the base class and then have the prefabs kind of fill those. I'm going to check to see the only sort of object right now that's acting a little differently than any of the other map entities is town. So I'm going to see how their callouts are being populated before I do anything else. All right, so the difference between the towns and all the other map entities is that they're actually always put at the center of a cell, and every cell has its own sort of call out that says what resources are in it, and a town is considered a resource. So it's a little different, but that explains why when I was looking through if I needed to deal with their callouts in the same way, I wasn't finding them in the town script itself. So I'm going to ignore that for now and get back to setting this up for map entities. All right. So what I'm trying to do here is I took the minimap icon that I had kind of hard coded in the loot prefab, made it generalized, and now I'm going to load it through code for every single map entity so that we don't have to set this up. And what this lets me do is I don't have to go through every single prefab later on if we need to make a small change to this minimap icon. So I'm just kind of generalizing this to save us time later. All right, it might be hard to see, but on the mini map there is an icon, it looks like, right here, but the scale is way off, so we probably have to mess with adjusting the scale of the prefab. One thing we can do to verify that it's actually there, we go back to the scene and we look for that object, which is the dead round circle. Well, first we can look to see if it's actually a child. So we have a minimap icon right here, and yeah, it's right here. So looks like it's inheriting the position of the prefab. So I bet if I change this in the scene here, that would solve that. And then we just need to adjust the scale. Let's give it a, we did like 33. Yeah. All right, cool. So the way we fix that is just when we instantiate it to adjust it. So I'll do that now, and then we can move on to the actual map call out that's in the 3D scene. We'll see if this works, but I have a hunch that what's happening is we're randomly generating the position of the minimap. And because I'm doing that, it's leaving the minimap icon in the old position. That, or I need to do it in awake, not start, because the awake function happens right when it's instantiated, and then start happens just shortly after. It looks like see what's going on. Okay, so now I don't see it. It's probably there, but the way I set it up is probably it up. Okay, so I messed up the rotation, is why it's not showing, and the position's still messed up. So I can fix the rotation, and I'm gonna fix for my hunch there about what's going on with the position. All right, that seems to be working. Let's double check before I move on. So yeah, the icon is rotated properly. It keeps the rotation from the prefab, and then I just move the position after start just to account for any sort of movement that happens when we initially spawn it. An interesting thing, if you've never messed with multiple cameras in Unity, is is that you can set which camera, or in the camera, which sort of layers get projected. So I have a mini map camera, and then I have the main sort of gameplay camera. And all that's happening here is that this object is in the scene, but the mini map camera is the only camera that can actually display the mini map icons because they're set to that correct layer. The nice thing about Unity, the way it's set up, is that you're not getting hit from a performance standpoint. We're kind of having the object in the scene, even though, I don't know, it's there. Like basically Unity through their camera system can handle this. So it's kind of a nice trick for doing things like this, where you need objects to only render in one part, and you need to use the position data that is for another object. So yeah, I don't know. It's a handy thing that Unity kind of thought of ahead, and we're taking advantage of it. All right, so why don't we move on to the next thing to set up, is the callouts. The other thing I'll have to do is, in each individual object, I'll have to actually set up, okay, what is its icon, and then have the minimap icon use that. Actually, I think I know how to do that, so I'll do that real quick before I move on to the callout. I'm just going to look something up real quick. What I want to know is, can I just change the type that a texture is from a sprite to a texture, or vice versa, so I only have to store one variable? All right, looks like I can convert it by just changing the type. Well, we can't go the other way, it looks like, so let me see if I can do it the other way. So Sorry, was muted. So I'm going to abort on the minimap icon texture change just because I'm going a little brain dead here from my trip or something. I don't know why I making this harder than it needs to be. So I'll come back to that after the stream. But what I'm going to do is try to get the hover call out to appear before the end of the stream. So what we have is a system where we have these what we call call out hosts that basically manage these world object icons that appear above each object. So I'm going to call our game manager's add using the icon that we've set. And this one takes in a sprite. Actually, here, maybe this will reveal what I'm supposed to be doing in terms of that texture thing. Creates a call out. I think the call it just uses a UI. Yeah, it uses a UI element, so it's actually using a sprite. So it doesn't deal with textures in the way that the minimap icon does. All right. So we'll create the call out. So I need to do something here. We make it a raycast target so that then when the mouse hovers over it, the tooltip will actually work on it. And right now, I'm not storing the tooltip text. I'll need to make that variable up here. And that way each object will be able to set what the tooltip is when it gets hovered over. Then it should just create it. So let's see if this works. All right, so looks like it appeared, but there's something going on. So let's take a quick look in the scene. Maybe there's another object there or something. it is, I think that's all that's there. I don't see anything else. See if the tooltip works before I, actually the tooltip should probably not work because I haven't set any text in that variable. But we'll verify anyways. It might be some loot that just happened to spawn right inside there that we can't see. Yeah, the tooltip isn't working because we don't have any text. My hunch is that because I'm seeing this over here, yeah, I know exactly what's going on. I haven't set the icon sprite now for the loot objects or other things that are using these generic things. So they're all coming up blank. So we go to the I go to the script over here. Sorry. Tooltip text here, so we'll say are waiting, investigate. Okay, so we've set what our tooltip's going to be. We have our icon for this one. We go to loot. And loot's just a generic name in the project. Obviously, it's not always going to be loot, it's just an object. Already has its minimap icon too. I should probably remove that. We go to loot pile here. Tooltip text. Loot. And then it doesn't have an icon. I'll make it something different so I remember to change it later in code. I just want to see if that's what's going on. Change to something like this. Not it's something with how I'm instantiating the callout. The joys of game development. Okay, so it's still acting up, so it's something with how I'm instantiating it then. Let's see what's up. Oh, I bet I'm doubling it up. That's what's going on. And also it's not going to be set up with the correct icon because it's happening after. Yeah. So I'm guessing if I did this, we've got an order problem here. So the stuff that I'm setting up in map entity is happening up here, and then afterwards I'm actually, in terms of the loot itself being reset up, I'm doing some of the setup afterwards, so I just have to reorganize this. This whole thing's going to be refactored anyway, so I won't worry too much about the loot. I just want to see why we have that white icon over the dead Ron circle as well, because that shouldn't be happening. That shouldn't have the same problem as this. All right. So it does look like, I think what's just happening here is got two things spawning on top of each other effectively. So if I hide the dead Ron site, oh, it's all in the dead Rons. So the dead Ron circle is spawning two of them. One minimap icon on that. Search for all the minimap icons in the scene. Okay, so what's this attached to? Ah, okay. Ah, okay. So for some reason that I'm not clear on, there's a map entity script on the body of the Ron in addition to the top level one. So let's get rid of that and see that was needed or not. At the very least, we don't need it on this object, but I'm curious why the Ron would need that at all. That's something I haven't been messing with. Okay. All right, well, that solved our problem. So now we have a call out, and I'm gonna, after the stream, I'll clean it up so that there's actually a sort of like a blue background, like the towns and stuff, so that it looks a little better. But yeah, so we've got the call out appearing, we've got the minimap icon appearing, and we'll just have to put some code in, which I'll probably stop now and do that later today, to just define in the objects themselves what their icons are so they can be populated, and then we should be good to go. So yeah, if you stuck with me throughout this whole thing, I appreciate it. There's a little bit of fiddling, a little bit of fogginess today coming back from and being jet lagged. But yeah, I'm gonna get back to doing weekly streams. Hopefully at some point in the next month or so, we could possibly do a team stream to bring on some of the other team members. But yeah, thanks again. And if you can follow on Twitch, join our Discord, or wherever you like to follow, we'd appreciate it. Have a good one.